Welcome. In this video, we are going to learn how to create a 3D solar system like the one that you see here. We are going to explore the properties of basic 3D objects like spheres and cylinders, and we are going to learn how to add animations and textures to those 3D objects. So let's get started. As usual, we are going to go to this website called kids.hatchxr.com, and once you are on that website, we are going to click on this new projects button. So once you click on the new projects button, it will open up a templates page where you can see there are lots of starting templates for you to build your games. We are for now going to start with this empty project template. So just click on the plus sign here and you will see that an empty project has been loaded here. So by default, you're in the code window. We can build a solar system using the code space, but this is going to be a design-centric video. So we are going to build our entire project in the design space. So let's go to our design tab. And once the design window opens up, you can see that there are lots of objects already added into our space. So let's understand what we need to do. We are going to be building a solar system. So we are going to be basically adding suns and planets and moons and making those moons and planets move around the sun, right? Now, in reality, sun and planet and moons, all of these things are spherical in shape. So what we are going to do is we are going to add a lot of sphere objects and then change the properties of those spheres to make them look like sun, moons, and planets. So we don't need the box here, so we can select the box and press delete button on the keyboard, and that will delete the box. Let's delete the cylinder and delete the ground. Now let's start by first of all modifying this sphere that we have and to making it look like the sun. So once I have selected the sphere here, you can see the properties panel, and first of all let's increase the size of the sphere because sun is very large and it's the largest object in our solar system. So we can modify the size by adjusting its radius. Let's make its radius 10 units. And you will notice that the sphere has become very large now. Now, in reality, the sun is like the center of our solar system. So we want to position the sphere at the center of this 3D space as well. So the center of our 3D space is 0, 0, and 0 in X, Y, and Z coordinates. So we can just type position 0 in X, position 0 in Y, and Z 0 as well. And that will place your sphere at the center of this 3D workspace. Now we have positioned the sphere, but let's make it look like our sun. So to do that, we need to add an image as a texture on the top of the sphere. So if you go to its properties panel and look down, there is a property called texture. And if you click on the plus sign here, it will open up at the textures window, and you can see that there are some images here. So you can add any of these images as a texture to your sphere. Now you can also upload your own image. So I have downloaded a few images for Venus, Sun, Mars, and Jupiter and Moon and uploaded them here. But let me just show you where you can find these images. So I'm just going to open up a new tab in my Chrome window and search for solar system texture. And there is this website that has really good images for all of our planets: Mercury, Venus, Mars, Jupiter, and Earth and Sun as well. So you can download any of these images here and then upload those images as texture here. Okay, so if you click on the upload button here, this will open up your dialog box and you can select any of the images that you have downloaded and add them to your textures panel. So I have already uploaded those images here. There is one more thing that if you want to upload your own texture, you need to be logged in to Hatch. So if you're not logged in, you will not be able to upload your own texture. All right. So just be mindful of that. And let me just full screen this again. And now I want to add the sun image, the image of the sun on the sphere. So how do I do that? I click on the plus sign and I can just select my sun image from here and click on the plus sign here. And you will notice that the image of the sun has been added on top of my sphere. So now this looks pretty close to our sun, but you see sun is an object that emits light. So it does not have any dark spaces like the one that you see here. So how can we modify that? So we are just going to add an ambient light to our scene, and that will help getting rid of this dark space. So you can just click on the add 3D objects button and select this lights category here. And again, you will see there are lots of different types of lights you can add to your project. We are just simply going to add an ambient light. So click on the plus sign here. And now you see an ambient light has been added to your game and everything has brightened up. The sun is glowing now. That is really good. But the brightness of the sun is too much. So let's reduce the brightness. So what we can do is select this light that we just added and reduce the intensity. So I'm just going to make the intensity half, so 0.5. The sun is still going to be bright, but not too bright. All right. So now that we have that, let's add Earth. Okay, let's add some planets. So we are going to start by adding another sphere, and we are going to make that planet look like our planet Earth. So I can just simply go to this add 3D objects button, go to basic objects and add another sphere from here, right? But another easy way to do that is, since we already have a sphere here, you can click on the 3 dots and click on clone. And this will add another sphere in your workspace. And this will add another sphere with the same properties as your original sphere. So it will have the same position, same size, same texture. So you can't distinguish the two spheres right now. But if I just move the second sphere a bit farther away, see, both of these spheres have the same properties. Now, I am not this naming convention of sphere and sphere 2 is going to be confusing. So let's rename our original sun sphere. So it's positioned at 0, 0, 0. I'm going to rename this as sun. So just how do I rename an object? Well, you click on the object and then click on the 3 dots button here. Click on rename and then you can type whatever name you want. So give it the name sun. And now you'll know that this object is your sun. So this second object will be my earth. So what we have to do is we are going to make it look like our earth. So first of all, earth is smaller, very small compared to sun. So let's make its radius 1 units. And that is small enough. And now what we can do is we can just change the texture of the sun, of this earth, and make it look like our planet. So click on the plus sign here. And again, I just have the earth image by default added here. You can download your own earth image and upload here. So I have an earth image here. I can just click on the plus sign and see the earth model has been added. So what I'm going to do now is let's rename this sphere too and call it earth sphere. Okay, earth sphere. Yeah, that looks good. But now let's position this earth sphere. Okay, so how do we position the earth sphere? So in reality, what is going to happen is earth is going to be moving around the sun in a circular path with a constant radius. So let's say earth is going to move in a circular path of radius 30. So initially we can just position our earth as x units to be 30 and y and z can be 0. Now this way we have positioned the earth here, but then later on what we are going to do is we are going to move the earth in a circle of this 30 units distance. If I just zoom into my earth, so double click on the earth model, earth name here, and you're going to zoom in to the earth model. So now what we want to do is we want the earth to move around the sun. But you see there is a rotation property here. If I modify the rotation property, you see the earth is rotating about its own center, right? What we want to do is we want to move the earth about the sun's position. So to do that, what we will do is we are going to add an empty layer. So click on the plus sign here, go to basic objects, and at the bottom of basic objects, you will see there is an object called empty layer. So click on the plus sign here, and you see an empty layer has been added. Now you will notice that empty layer is exactly as its name suggests, empty. There is nothing in this. It's just a blank layer. So what you can do is you can use this empty layer to offset the center of any object. So right now earth is rotating about its own center, but because we don't want earth to rotate about its own center and we want the earth to rotate about sun's position, So what we can do is we can position this empty layer exactly where our sun is positioned. So our sun is placed at 0, 0, and 0. So select the empty layer and place it at 0, 0, and 0. And now what you can do is you can click on your earth sphere, press and hold down the left button on your mouse and drag the name of this object inside the empty layer. So you see now earth has become a child of the empty layer. What this means is if you move the empty layer, if you rotate the empty layer, now you see as I'm changing its Y rotation, it looks like earth is moving. So earth is a, is a child of this empty layer. So whenever you have this nesting of objects, you add one object inside of another. So whatever changes you make to the parent object, so empty layer is the parent of this earth sphere. Whatever changes you make to the properties of the empty layer, it will be reflected on the children object as well. So if I move the empty layer, you see, it's moving the earth sphere along with that as well. So the changes are reflecting on the children object as well. But if I make any changes on the earth sphere by itself, that does not affect the empty layer. Okay, that does not affect the parents. That's the whole point of nesting objects inside one another. All right. So we are going to position the empty layer at 0, 0, and 0 with rotation 0, 0, 0. And earth sphere here is going to be positioned 30 units with no rotation. All right. So we have added our earth sphere. Now let's just rename this empty layer and call it earth. So now what we want to do is we want this earth to rotate about the sun. So now if you notice, if I change the Y rotation here, it looks like earth is moving around the sun. And you will have studied in your math classes that to move in a circle, to move about one rotation in a circle, you move an angle of 360 degrees. So from 0 to 360 degrees will complete one rotation about a circle. So we are going to add an animation where we will change the Y rotation of the earth object from 0 to 360. Let's learn how to do that. So you click on this animations panel here on the top and click on this add animations button. So when you click on the add animations button, you get an animation added and you can modify the properties of this animation to make it look like the earth is moving around the sun. So how do we do that? We are simply going to select when do we want to add the animation. So the animation, when do we want the animation to run? I want the animation to run anytime I open up the project. So on scene loaded. Which property do I want to adjust? I want to change the rotation property from Y0 rotation to Y360 degrees. And we are not going to change the X and Z values. When do you want the animation to start? So immediately. And how long do you want? So duration defines how long do you want the animation to be of. So I want the animation to be completed in, let's say, I want one rotation to be completed in, let's say, 10 seconds. All right. And how many times do you want the animation to repeat? So I want earth to just continuously move around the sun. So infinity. And direction. So direction, just select forward for now. It means it will go from 0 to 360. What backwards will mean is going from 360 to 0, and alternate would mean going from 0 to 360 once and then 360 to 0. So forward and then backward and then forward and then backward. So for now we just want the forward animation. And then linear, here easing linear, it means that earth will move in a constant speed. All right. So we have the animation set. Let's go to the play tab and let's see how does it look. So, okay, something weird is happening. You see, I can just see the earth moving about myself, but I'm not able to see the sun. Why is that? Well, that's happening because I am positioned inside the sun. If I move back, you see, I just moved out of the sun and now I can see the earth moving around the sun, right? So let's go back to the design tab and see what just happened. If you select your player object, so player defines where you are in the game, you will notice that you are inside the sun. Let's not have that. Let's just move our player outside so that we can observe the universe, observe the solar system from a different point, from a slightly higher vantage point. So I have moved the player slightly farther away from the sun and slightly above. So if I go to the play tab now, I am able to see the sun and the earth moving about it, moving around it. That looks really good. All right. So let's go to the design tab and let's modify a bit some more properties and add a moon to our game. So I go to the design tab. Now, first of all, you see this scene looks really empty. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to click on this add 3D objects and I will select this environments option, and there is a system called star system. You can just add stars to your project using this. So I'm just going to click on the plus sign, and you see stars have been added to my game, and this looks much better now. All right. So I have stars in the project. The background still looks a bit empty. So let's change that as well. We can click on the add 3D objects button and click on this multimedia property. And here you get the option to add images and sounds to your game. So in your images section, there is an image that we have added by default called Night Sky 360. If you just click on the plus sign here, it will ask you what type of image do you want to add to your game. Do you want to add a flat image, like a rectangular image? Or do you want to add a curved image? Or do you want to add a 360 photosphere? So right now I'm going to add a 360 photosphere. So click on this plus sign here, and you will notice that a huge sphere has been added with this night sky on it. That looks really cool, but let's modify its properties to make it look much better. So I'm going to select this image 360 and increase its radius from 100 to 200 and scroll down and reduce its opacity to 0.2. Now that looks so much cleaner, right? And looks so much more interesting. All right. So we have our earth, we have our sun, and we have this image of the night sky with stars in the background. Let's rotate the stars as well. Okay, let's not have stars to be static, because if I go to the play tab now, you will notice that only the earth is moving around the sun. This is very static. It doesn't seem that dynamic. So let's go to the design tab. And now if you click on the stars, if you click on the star system, you can add another animation for your stars. So click on animations, add animation, and again we will add rotation here. So on scene load, rotation, and from 0 to 360 in Y. Now how much duration should be for this? So I want the stars to be rotating very slowly. So I can just say 360 seconds. So it's going to take basically 6 minutes to rotate once the stars. They are far away, they should rotate slowly. And again, I want the rotation to happen indefinitely and just in the forward direction. Now let's play this and see how does this look. See, that looks so much more interesting. Now I have the stars moving around very slowly in the background, and I have the earth moving around the sun. All right. So we have done most of the part of our project. Now if you want to add more planets, you can just duplicate your earth. So if I want to add more planets, all you can do is select your earth and click on these 3 dots and select clone. So you have a duplicate of your earth, and now I can just modify the distance, size, and texture. So select your earth sphere to here and reduce the distance. So let's say I want to add Venus. So this planet is now going to be Venus. Now Venus is closer to the sun compared to Earth. So let's say its distance to be 18. Now you see I have a second Earth here, and Venus is slightly smaller than Earth. So I can reduce its size 0.6. That looks better. And I can change its texture to match that of Venus. So select the plus sign here. And again, you can download the Venus texture from the website I have mentioned. Its link will be added in the description of the video, so you can open up the texture from the link in the description. So click on this Venus plus sign here, and now see the Venus planet has been added. Now if I go to the play tab, you will notice both Venus and Earth are moving with the same speed around the sun. So let's change that. Let's have some dynamic effect there as well. So first of all, let's rename. So Earth 2 is our Venus, right? So let's rename Earth 2 to Venus, and let's change this name of Earth sphere to this. I'll change it to Venus sphere. All right, we have that. Let's select Venus and go to its animations. So since we cloned this Venus object from our Earth object, so all the properties gets cloned. So Earth had this animation of moving around the sun. So Venus by default also had the animation of moving around the sun. And Earth was moving around the sun in 10 seconds. So Venus also had the animation of moving around the sun in 10 seconds. We can just change it to, let's say, 7 seconds. And that will give a different speed to Venus now. Let's go to Play tab. And you can see that Venus is moving slightly faster than Earth. Awesome. So this looks good. Let's go to the Design tab. And now we can modify the properties of our Earth to have a moon in its path as well. So what we are going to do is we are simply going to clone this Earth object again. All right. And let's move this Earth object now slightly away. So this Earth is now going to be like our moon. So I'm just going to rename it to moon. And what we are going to do is we are going to change this Earth sphere too and make its name called moon sphere. Moon sphere. All right. So let's change its size and texture first of all, and then we will worry about its position. So texture, I can just select this moon 360 image that I have, click on the plus sign. So I have the moon texture now, and its size can be reduced because Earth, the moon of our planet, is very small. So we can change its radius to 0.4. Now this moon sphere, you see this moon sphere, it's positioned 30 units from this empty layer. So I don't want that because moon is very close to our Earth. So we can just say 6 units and that will be better. We can say 6, and now you'll notice that this moon has moved closer to our empty layer. You see the distance between the empty layer's position and the moon is small. Now all we have to do is we just need this moon to be positioned, this moon empty layer to be positioned exactly where our Earth object is. So what we can do is we can open up this empty layer of moon and of this Earth and just drag this moon inside the Earth sphere. It's simple as that. So now I have this moon inside my Earth sphere, and this moon's empty layer, just make it 0, 0 and 0. And now if you go to the Play tab, you will see that your moon is moving around the sun. Sorry, your moon is moving around the Earth. See that? And the Venus is moving about the sun on its own. So let's go back to the Design tab and adjust the speed as well. So inside Earth, inside the Earth sphere, you have moon. Go to its animations. Moons revolve a bit faster. So let's say its animation speed to be 2 seconds. And if I go to the Play tab now, see, moon is moving a lot faster than the Earth. All right. So we are almost done with the project. Now, if you want to add more moons and more planets, you can just duplicate this Earth and Venus empty layers and clone them and change the texture, sizes, and the distances, and you will be able to add more and more planets. Let's add one more thing so that everything looks a bit more cleaner. Is I'm going to add orbits that can look like the path of your Earth and Moon and other planets. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on this Add 3D Objects button and go to Basic Objects and add this object called a torus. So torus is basically like a donut shape, a 3D donut. Yeah. So now you see I have a torus added here. What I need to do is I'm going to look at the properties of our torus. It has a radius. So if I increase the radius, it looks like a ring, right? And there is this tubular radius. So I can make it a bit thinner or thicker. So I want it very thin. I want it to be very thin. And now what I can do is I can position this torus exactly where my sun is. So place it at 0, 0, and 0. And so I know that my Earth is 30 units away from the sun. So if I make this torus's radius to be 30, it will match the position of our Earth. But what I want to do is I want this to denote the path of my Earth. My Earth is moving. Okay, let me just show you. So my Earth is moving like this, and this torus is vertical. So we want to make the torus horizontal. We can select our torus object and rotate its x value. Change its x value rotation to 90, and that will now match the plane in which the Earth is rotating. We can modify its color to gray and reduce its opacity to, let's say, 0.5. And if you go to play, now this will look like a torus, an orbit that's denoting the path in which Earth is moving. Okay, it's very transparent. Let's not have it that transparent. So I select my torus and change its opacity and maybe make its color a bit lighter. Yeah, that looks fine. That looks good. All right. So I can just now duplicate my torus and add more orbits for my Venus. Let's say I'm cloning this torus, and I know my Venus is 18 units from the sun, so the radius of the second torus I can keep it as 18, and that will look like the orbit of my Venus object. So now we need to add another orbit for our moon. What we can do is duplicate this torus again, and I know the moon's distance from our Earth is 6 units. So if you go to this moon object here, its position is 6 in the x. So radius of my third torus will be 6. Okay. But it will not be centered at our sun. Right now, this third torus is centered at our sun. This needs to be centered at our Earth. So we can just click on this third torus and drag it inside our Earth sphere. Simple as that, and make its position 0, 0, 0. So if I want to have more moons, what I can just do is I can duplicate this moon, clone, and increase the distance. So let's say 8 units, and add another torus and clone this torus, increase its radius to 8 units, and I have another moon in my project, right? Now you can change the animation duration to, let's say, 3 seconds for the second moon. And if I go to the play tab now, see, I have now a planet that has 2 moons moving around it. It looks like Earth, and we have the paths for all of these objects that are very clearly visible. So this can be used to explain to students, or if you're a student, then if you're learning by yourself, you can visualize the paths in which different planets move and learn about physics and astronomy this way. All right, so we are done with this video. Again, as usual, you can publish your project by just typing your name here, the name of the project, and clicking on publish. So I have already created a full solar system. I will be adding the link of the completed project in the description as well. You guys can publish your own projects, and I would love to see what you guys are creating. So do share the links of your projects in the comments, and I would love to go through that. All right, so we are done with this one, and let's see you guys in another video. Bye bye.